All right, welcome to Right On with John Crane. And today what I got cooking in the shop is I've taken the vise here off of the Bridgeport mill, and I was over at the mill there and I was looking at it and I was gonna run an indicator on it, make sure it was nice and straight. And then I got to thinking like, this vise needs a little cleanup. So I'm gonna take it over to the bench. I'm gonna dismantle the vise and then clean it all up and then throw it back up on the mill there and indicate it. So that's the plan here for today. And then, I noticed a few of you have recognized some of my friends here in the background. I got Waylon Jennings over here, always overlooking the shop. And then in addition to that, I got old Sanford and Son over here, old Fred and Lamont and Grady, and I think we got Esther in there. They're always keeping an eye, and it's always good to have some fellow junk collectors around here in the shop. Anyhow, hope you guys are doing great. Follow me over to the bench here. We're gonna pop this apart and give it a good cleaning. All right, here's the vise here, and yeah, obviously it's looking a little dirty, but a little procedure here. I think it's going to be taking off the vise jaws here first. There's a couple Allen head screws deep here through the back, and there's a couple on this end. So I'm going to pull those out. And then I got right here is a little roll pin that's going through the screw here. And then holding on this block right here, there's a couple of little keepers here, almost like gibs here. And these have 3 Allen head screws right here on the bottom. And there's a little hole here on the bottom side of the vise that you can access those hex head screws from, and then pop this part of the vise off. So, but first, I think what I'm gonna do here is just pop these vise jaws off, and I think I can get this into that hex head screw there, and put a little cheater bar on there. Yeah, nice. All right, there's the other one. All right, and there's that vise jaw right there. So these parts here, I'm just gonna drop these right now, one by one, right into, I got a vat of Simple Green over here. It's Simple Green, it's just a degreaser, and it's a nice product, biodegradable. All right, I got those vise jaws off. Now I'm gonna flip this over and take off these little keepers here. I'm just gonna pop this little roll pin out right here. All right, I just blew all this down with the compressed air there. And now I'm going to go after it with the WD-40. The WD-40 is great for displacing the water there. And so I'm just going to give these a good soak down with this. Also to stop any kind of flash rusting, that type of thing. Just give all these parts a good soak down. And then I'm going to come after these with some Scotch-Brite. I got some Scotch-Brite pads here. And I'll just give all these parts a good scrub down. All right, I got the vise all cleaned up here, and before I reassemble here, while I got it apart, now's a good time. I'm going to go over some little dings that are on the vise here with a fine bench stone here. And so, yeah, there's a little ding right here. Looks like something had been dropped on it. All right, here's this little spot on the vise here. And I'm just going to run over that with the bench stone. And usually what happens is when something drops on a piece of metal like that, it flares up the sides around it there like a little volcano type of thing. And you just come with the bench stone there and take off the high spots. I'm not trying to take down any other spots around here, just the little high spots around those dings there. You can see right there, just by running that over, that it's starting to highlight around the hole there. And that's great, because that's just taking down those little high spots. And even right over here on the other side, just going over this whole surface. And not trying to take a lot, just a little bit. Just to get that nice and flat. And then I'll go over the rest of the surface here on the whole vise here. Everything else looks pretty good on this. And I'll do the same here on this movable jaw here. And let's see, I'll zoom in, there's a little spot right there. And same thing, it's just a good time to take off these little dings. This one I can almost go after with the coarse side of this stone a little bit. All right, now I'm ready to reassemble the vise, and I'm going to put a little Earl on there. So what I got is some of the mobile R&O, this is a DTE here, and right, a little Earl. Remember Norton there from Honeymooners. I need a little drop of Earl there, Ralph. I'm going to put a very light coat of oil on this vise. I don't want it to be too heavy, just enough to keep this thing, you know, from rusting or that type of thing, just to keep it lubed up. But I don't want too much oil in between surfaces. So I'm just going to put a little bit here and then just rub it in with my hand. The gloves are always good. Seems like gloves are in short supply these days. I went to go get another box of these orange ones at the local hardware store there, and they're all out. So everybody's eating them up nowadays. Yeah, so just a little bit of oil on there. And then same thing here, I'll oil up this movable jaw here. And it's good to get a little oil down inside of this screw here. And on these vices, there's a little port right here where you can oil through the side, but yeah, you can always access this screw and oil it when you open up the vise. Actually, I'll put this screw in right now. And these screws and these vices, they're left-handed threads. All right, now that I got the screw in there, I'll drop this right down on here. So in reassembling this screw here, there's two washers here, and they have two little notches in them. And one goes on one side of this opening here, and one goes on the other. And in the bottom there, there's a little pin. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I zoom in. Yeah, right there, there's a little pin. And so when this washer goes in, it sits right there. So I'll put a little oil inside this hole here. Oil up all these surfaces right here. All right, I'll put a little oil on this washer here. And then I'll put this right in here with the notch down. And then slide this movable jaw right through there. Make sure that's seating in there nicely. On the other side here, I'll slide this washer in, same way with the notch down. And then that gets, this little collar gets put in place, and that gets put in place with a roll pin that will go right through this hole here. Now just line that hole up and then insert this roll pin. And I'll tap this roll pin in with a little brass punch there. Some old brass punch from my grandfather there. All right, now I'm gonna flip the vise over and I'm gonna put these gibs on from the bottom and access those screws through these holes here on the bottom. And when I took these off, I put little lettering here on the bottom just to indicate which end of the vise and which side each gib was on, so they go back on the same side. All right, now I'm just gonna slide this gib in here, and I'm just gonna make sure I got oil on all these surfaces here. All right, now I got both the gibs here back on, and the vise is operating nice and smooth there. The gibs, sounds like I'm talking about the Bee Gees there, little Barry Gibb. I could go for having some Bee Gees on here in the background. That's the only thing about these YouTube videos. I usually like having the shot music going on, and it's nice to have the tunes pumping, but there's all those rights and all that stuff for the music that you can't be having it playing. So a lot of these videos I've been having my friend Ty Burhoe doing a lot of the music, and he's got some great stuff. And if you enjoy his music, head over to his website and check out some of his tunes. He's got some great stuff. All right, now it's time to put these vise jaws back on. And same thing, I'm just gonna give these a very light coat of oil. Not too much. I don't want a lot of oil in between this face right here and the vise jaw. Just very lightly. I rub that on there with my hands, and even take a little off here with a rag. And I'll drop this on right here. And I guess I could have put these screws back on when I had the movable jaw off. Would have been a little easier. Now I got to do the old shillelagh shuffle here with the, quarter turn at a time type of thing. All right, now spin this around. And I'll see if I got this in the right position, up or down. All right, I gotta flip that jaw over. There we go. All right, nice. The vise is looking in some good shape now. And before I bring it back over to the Bridgeport there, I'm gonna flip this over here. And same thing, I'm just gonna take the bench stone here with a fine grit and just run this just right over the bottom. Make sure there's no little high spots sticking out on this. Like right there. All right, and then just give it a little dash of oil here before bringing it back over to the mill. Give it a little shot of oil. All right, I'm over here at the Bridgeport, and before I put the vise back up here on the table, I'm just gonna run the stone over, make sure there's no high spots here on the table. And this seems really good. I don't feel any high spots there. And give this a little wipe down, and same thing, just gonna put a little drop of oil here under the vise where the vise is gonna sit. All right, here we go. Yep. Yeah, it's a little bit of a heavy beast there. All right, I'm gonna tram in this vise, and on this side of the vise, I got the bolt locked down, not hugely tight, but a little bit tight. And then I got my indicator here attached to the quill, and I'm gonna bring in this, it's a Starrett back plunger type of indicator. So I'm just gonna set this up here. Crank this over to this side, and then zero this out. All right, and now run this to the other side. Looks about within 1,000th right there. That's pretty good for just just for laying the vise on there. Actually, on less than 1,000. That's like half a thou. Let's see. I'll tighten this up. Sometimes you tighten it up and it moves around a little bit. All right, I'll check this again, and I'll even put a little bit more pressure on the indicator here, and I'll zero that guy out again, and let's see what we got. That's looking pretty good. That needle's not moving at all. Over the course of the travel there, it looks like I'm under 1,000 there, so I'm pretty happy with that. That's great. All right, well, it's great to be making some chips on a nice clean vise here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little breakdown on the milling machine vise there. And hey, if you like my videos and you enjoy what's going on here, please give me a like and subscribe. I really enjoy making these videos and having a good time doing it. I hope you guys are doing great, and I'll see you guys all soon.